Hi, hello, how are you? My name is Marta, if you don't know, I'm from Spain, and today I'm going to talk about something that's really relevant here. I kind of started talking about it in the video, the Julie video, the odd one out. I also mentioned it in the languages in Spain that people don't know about. I kind of talk about it a little bit, but this is like a big topic here in Spain. Disclaimer, I'm not a politician. I haven't studied anything related to history or politics or anything like that. Take what I say with a grain of salt because I'm not an expert. I basically know these things because I'm Spanish, because I live in Spain, and these again are really relevant here. These are like the usual topics to talk about and to discuss, and also I kind of Google search some of these so I have like a better insight on the topic, because it's like again like something historical and about politics and stuff. But I'm going to keep it very simple, again because I don't know really much about it. This is basically so you guys know what we know here in Spain. You don't have to be like, and again, like a politician or anything like that. Everyone knows, kind of knows some of these things. What is the main conflict, I will say, here in Spain? I don't know if it's fair to say that it's the main conflict, because I think the main conflict here in Spain and every country is the different ideologies that people have. However, if you go specifically, and this kind of relates to that, some of the communities in Spain, I'm going to remind real quick, if you don't know, if you didn't watch that video, that in Spain, the states, it's the equivalent to the states in the USA. They're called like self-sufficient communities, or like communities with authority. So I'll just say communities because I don't know the actual translation to it. I'm just gonna say community, but just think of state, you know what I mean? Like, I'm from Andalusia, that's like saying rural island. Why did I choose the most difficult name? Vermont, okay? That's like the equivalent. There are 17 communities and 2 cities that are like, I don't know how to explain it. They're in Africa, they're geographically located in Africa, but they're Spanish, and they're cities, but they're called ciudades autónomas, just like the communities are comunidades autónomas. I'm not really sure about this, and it's not relevant to this video, so I don't know why I'm getting into this. So just so you know, there's like 17 communities and then 2 cities. There's 5 communities in the country that has I looked it up. Spanish is their first language, but some of them kind of want their second language to be the first, if this makes sense, but I don't think it is. I think Spanish is considered their first language anyways, and some of these want to be independent. We're going to focus on 2 specifically because they actually try to be independent. One is the Basque country, País Vasco, and the other is Catalonia. Why do they want to be independent, first of all? After the dictatorship here in Spain, if you want a video about that, I can make one. They kind of agree the capital of Spain will have the power, if you will, like there will be a central administration. However, there was a recognition of the state government, as in they were willing to transfer some jurisdictions to the communities. I don't know if this is the same in other countries. I'm guessing in some this is the same. Like, we have the Spanish government itself, and then each community has some specific laws that they input. Like, for instance, in Andalusia is the right wing who governs the community itself, but the country itself, it's governed by the left wing, if that makes sense. So it's like some laws are kind of different, but in the end it's the country itself, is the central administration who has a word in which laws are applied in each community. So they have some, but like they're kind of dependent on the central administration. It's something like that. At this point, they kind of have to vote it. Like, I'm talking about, I didn't wrote the year, however, the dictator died in 1975.
Españoles. Franco ha muerto.
So I'm guessing it's like 1978, I think I remember reading this, and each community had to vote if they want to self-rule of if they want to have a central administration independence. Catalonia, País Vasco, the Basque Country, voted self-ruling. I think it's because they're mostly more progressive and they wanted to step away from the conservative side that I wouldn't say Spain is conservative, but it's more conservative than them. And at that point it was, because we just got out of a dictatorship. There were still this kind of conservative ideology and conservative vibe, if you will. So they kind of wanted to step away from that. However, they started to have problems with the fiscal system, like the taxes. There were some economic and political disagreements in general. And again, the ideologies were so different at the time. Now I think there are differences between the communities, like some communities among the communities, some communities are way more progressive than others. However, I don't think it's that far. I think every community has conservative and progressive people. At that point though, because the dictatorship was still like remaining really, I think there was a way bigger difference. Problems that they started having. With the Basque Country, there's like this, I don't know how to explain it because I was going to say fear, but I don't want to say that. But they had a terrorist group, which is like crazy to say. Like when I'm thinking about it, it's like it's so normalized in Spain, like we're so aware of this that to say it out loud and be like inside the country there was a terrorist group from one part of the country, it's like I think it's kind of heavy. They wanted to fight the dictatorship because they did murder a policeman and the president, the right hand of the dictator, and so it's like people were so afraid of them, and I think they still are. That's why I kind of say fear, because I think people are not scared. I think we kind of ostracize them, if that makes sense, because we're afraid that they're going to have another attack. But when I was reading about it, this is a good insight of Spain, because I really thought they were terrorists just attacking everyone. I thought that actual civilians died, just like innocent people, but they really only targeted people that were working with the dictatorship, which I'm not justifying. I never think violence is the answer. However, let's think about how the dictatorship was the first one to provoke violence and promote it, really. Yes, there still are terrorist group, but they were just against these ultra-conservative people that were actually also murdering others and being oppressive towards the civilians. It's just something to take into account, I think. So with them, it's basically that. If you think about it, they literally, I translated the community's name because it's literally called country, like the Basque Country, but they're still Spanish. It's sort of that, you know how Scotland don't really want to be British and don't want to be related to England? I think it's kind of that vibe. With Catalonia, this is a more recent issue. I think with the Basque Country, it's like more far away, again, like right when the dictatorship ended. It's more around that time, so now that still remained, that feeling, but Catalonia was way more recent, so we have that more in mind. They firstly want the identity, which I think the Basque Country also does. That's why I kind of explain the languages, because part of it is that the most patriotic Spanish people want to have the Spanish language across the country, which it is, but they don't want those communities to have a second language at all. So I think that's why they have a more sense of an identity that they want to maintain, and clearly conservative people in Spain are not really letting them. They're constantly criticized. Again, they have a more progressive ideology in general, I would say, with social issues. If you go to Barcelona, for instance, you will see way more prideful flags and things like that if you go to a more more conservative community. Then they want to escape from this recession and conservatism. There was also a very big economic crisis in 2008 here in Spain. That's why we're struggling now a lot with jobs. The unemployment rates are really high. But basically they wanted to actually be independent, just like think of the Brexit, but instead of Britain kind of wanted to get away from Europe, Catalonia wanted to be independent from Spain, but not from Europe. They didn't have support either from Spain or external countries, like other countries in Europe were not supporting them. The problem here was that they wanted a vote. For the most part, people think that, like, I personally don't think it would be beneficial for them or us if they were independent. However, I do think, and I think many people that are more progressive things like this, that they should have a vote. So if they could have just it's called referendum, it's basically a vote if they want to be independent or not. The Spanish government tried to stop it. There were a lot of violence in that voting process, and it was very contraproducent because now people in Catalonia, they have more resentment within Spain because we were kind of oppressive towards them. They just wanted to vote and they didn't have like a say. They didn't get to actually vote and express what they wanted. They kind of have this resentment, and again with the identity, with the ideology differences, it's everything combined. So I kind of get them, but again it wouldn't be beneficial for them to go independent economically speaking. Like the right wing always say Spain is ripping apart, it's like getting out of control, and it's like it's not that exactly, because I think they're causing it. It's true that there's so many communities that don't want to be really Spanish. They don't want to be associated with Spain and its issues. This is like still a main issue. So this is all for today. Hope you understood most of the things I explained, because I explained it really bad. I'm so sorry about it, but again, I'm not fluent in English. I'm not fluent in politics either, so I did my best. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know in the comments what you want me to explain, what you want me to react to. Also, I've been thinking about making other type of videos that are not related to Spain or Spanish, and please do subscribe because it's free and you can change your mind anytime. Have a nice week.